What is up, y'all? Hope you're well. We're here for our midweek alchemy message. It's really on the nose today as far as commentary on how we should direct our efforts in our spiritual work in preparation for Rosh Hashanah, and also navigating, I should rather say, through the second half of eclipse season. On Earth, the intensity feels like it just couldn't get turned up any higher, and yet it continues to be turned up higher and higher. And then the challenge becomes, can we hold our own center, our own sense of groundedness, our own conscience, because so many entities and motives and agendas are trying to pull us in this direction or that direction. And so right now, we're seeing how crucial it is to be able to know your own heart and have control of your own mind. Particularly when people or organizations or establishments are trying to whip you into a frenzy using world events or local events or what have you to weaponize your emotions. So this time requires us to be even more mastered in self-control and even more in ownership over our feelings and our consciousness and our perspectives, because very skilled forces with intent are trying to manipulate how you see things and how you think about things and how you feel about things. And they have been for thousands of years. But the volume is getting turned up so loud, and the messaging is constantly in our face. And we can hear it everywhere and we can see it everywhere, but that's just what we can hear and see. We don't even know how much subliminal suggestion is being pushed on us all day, every day. Even down to that weird thing that the Schumann resonance was showing recently about the almost like the attack on the heart of the earth, like it's being manipulated from an outside unknown force, right? So this is why for the last several years we've been so engrossed in talking about the importance of being able to discern and listen to our inner wisdom and separate from the noise and go inward and hear for ourselves, right? Because nothing is off the table. People are using anything that they can to try to justify their own agendas and causes and means, and anything that gets in their way apparently is just, a means to an end. So now more than ever, we need to be able to identify what is false and what is true, and what is good and what is dark, what is light, what is dark, what is good, what is evil. So this time of year, Rosh Hashanah, Teshuvah, brings us back to this preoccupation. It was first in the garden that we became confused and unable to clearly discern what was good from bad, harmful from not, light from dark. when we were united, male, masculine, and divine masculine and feminine as one. You might even could think about this as our waking consciousness completely united with our spirit. We were back to back, and we had our face out into the world, and we could see what was coming, right? But the opponent, the Satan, whispered in our ear and said, you know what, you're not meant to be connected back to back. You're meant to be connected face to face. But we weren't ready yet. We weren't fully cooked, so to speak. Our consciousness wasn't fully awakened. And so had we waited until the completion of that cycle, which was the end of the day, it would have been midnight at Shabbat, then we would have been in protection to turn around face to face. We would have been in the protection of Shabbat. And what happened was Adam and Eve turned face to face, and they had sex too early. And what that did was literally it took their face, which was the full revelation of the light, which could see, oh, this isn't good for me, but this is okay. There was no confusion. It was like everything was absolutely clear. They could see an attack from the darkness coming. They were covered, right? It's like when you see cops in a movie and they're like, cover me, I've got your back, and they're back to back, and they're they can see everything. They have that full 360 vantage point. Adam and Eve turned inward towards one another to connect, but then it left their back exposed. Think about this. When we leave, when we're awakened and our consciousness is alert, we can see threats coming, and we can see people with ill intentions, right? But when our face is covered and we're not paying attention, the back of our mind is exposed, right? What is the back of our mind? It's our unconscious. It's our subconscious, right? How many times do we disconnect from our sense of conscious presence and awareness and mindfulness, and then all of a sudden what happens? Our subconscious defense mechanisms start coming in. Our unconscious habits start coming forward. Our reflexive response systems, unconscious beliefs, limiting beliefs, right? Self-sabotaging behaviors, all of those things lurking in the back of our mind that we're unaware of, we're vulnerable to when we're not in a conscious state of awareness. So let's go over our cards really quick, because so in this moment, right, this window, this portal of eclipse season in the last week of Tshuva, where we probe ourselves deeply for darkness lurking in our soul that needs to be brought into the light for correction, right? Our work in this world as incarnate beings is to both correct our souls on a personal level, but also to bring correction to the world where we have brought brokenness to it. So the darkness and the density are given to us to transform. And so we're going to go over our cards, and then we are going to listen to the audio, and then I'll come back and talk about the cards in detail. But, this is our last week where we're looking in that self-inventory, and we're thinking, okay, like what about what do I want to improve on? What do I really want to heal in myself? What do I want to transform? How do I want to see differently? What judgment do I want to let go of? Right? What hardness in my heart do I want to see soften? Or where have I been too porous and lenient, and I need stronger boundaries, and I need a stronger no, right? I need stronger conviction. Where do I need to bring more light, right? Where do I need to practice more self-discipline and have better habits? And let go of impulsive behaviors, right? So let's look at our cards. Because ultimately, what we want is to fine-tune ourselves into vessels that can channel the light of the Creator into this world that needs more goodness and more love and more help, more helpfulness, more lovingness. So our first card is lead. Literally, we're turning our lead to gold. And when I saw this card, I thought, oh, how interesting, because Saturn was with us last week, and Saturn is also associated with the supernal mother energy, the supernal feminine, the dark mother of Binah, which is the storehouse of the energy that we are connecting to through the opening of the portal of Rosh Hashanah. The mother energy that nurtures the children of humanity. So I was like, wow, this looks just like the Saturn card, which is so funny because this week it's like we are literally turning our lead into gold. This is the assignment, and here it is with the Saturn symbol there. And then Saturn actually did show up in the reading again. So we have lead, we have against nature, and we have Saturn. Lead is the body consciousness. It's the carnal mind. It's the animalistic instincts to kill or be killed. Anything goes, like dog eat dog world, right? Step on anybody it takes to get ahead. Like that instinct of wanting to have instant pleasure, instant gratification, not wanting to earn, feeling entitled, wanting to grab, no patience, wanting to have the quick fix instead of the long-term value, right? This is our body consciousness. But we have to learn to rise above our body consciousness. That is the assignment. Our nature, our truest nature from the most ancient or origins of our soul is that we are good, that we are whole, that we are one with the Creator. But when the opponent came in and deceived us and tricked us into taking of the tree of knowledge of good and evil consciousness, which introduced pain, death, and suffering in the world, that actually was against our nature. But now it's like has become the nature that we have adopted and have grown and had our being in as humankind. And so the work that we do ever since the fall of Adam, and the dawn of the ego, we have been working to undo that and return to our original nature. And so how do we do that work? How do we even begin to recognize when you're a fish in water, the water is your nature. You don't notice the water. So what do? We have to pay attention. What comes easy to us? What is our reflex response to life? You know, we have to recognize how we come out of the box, and we have to go against that nature to transcend it and to become more, to grow beyond ourselves, right? And so we go into processes of searching out our negativity, our judgment, our fear, our lack, our doubt, our insecurities, our greed, our lust for power, and sexual gratification, all of it. Like we have to transcend our animal instincts and reach into our human, and divine, our divinity, right? As human beings, we're both mammals and we're both divine, right? We're equally both, and they're both valid. But we're not one or the other. We need to integrate them and make them whole once more. And so we practice restriction. This is the discipline of Saturn. Saturn, in that restriction, it's not that we're suppressing our feelings or our urges or our emotions or our thoughts. Just the opposite. we're facing them fully, and we're probing, and we're questioning, okay, what is this? Where does this really come from? Is this legitimate? Is this valid at this moment? Can I pray for help to see this differently? Can I search for Christ's wisdom to navigate this situation and proactively meet it? Underneath lead, we have the King of Pentacles, but it's the feminine king, which suggests that we have surpassed the traditional queen, we have surpassed the traditional king, and we have transcended into a self-mastery of the material realm here to some degree. Underneath against nature, we have judgment, which Judgment Day is coming up, right? Monday is day 1 of Rosh Hashanah. We see the trumpet blowing here. This is like the shofar blasting the horn during these days of judgment, right? Confusing the opponent, who is our prosecutor. And let's see, and under Saturn, we have 2 of Pentacles. All right, so I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to let you guys listen to the audio, and then we'll be right back to discuss the cards more fully. Our assignment for the final week of both Tshuva and eclipse season is to literally turn our lead to gold, our darkness into light, by going against our carnal base nature and restricting the reactive forces that come from being in a state of affect consciousness. Our animal nature has built-in systems for competition and survival. To let this part of our nature take full control is animalistic. Our ego becomes another layer that seeks to grab, separate, and control. These are aspects of ourselves that we must seek out, identify, and give effort to correct. It is a discipline that we each must adopt to attain self-control and spiritual sovereignty. Otherwise, we are walking reflex responses on autopilot, and our operating systems have a virus. We must transcend beyond our lusts, our greed, our fears, our aggressions, not by burying them further inside of ourselves, but by pausing to question these reflexes every time they show themselves. Will we be judged by the cosmic scales? We will be judged by the cosmic scales by our own judgment. Did we learn to discern and understand and reason in accordance with Christ consciousness? Or did we continue to cast judgment in our ignorance, disregard, or condemnation? No one's hands are clean. It is in our humanity, it is in our humility that the kingdom is truly revealed. We are doing the correction within. We are doing positive actions to repair the world. And as we do our work individually, personally, intimately, it adds to the collective effort and strength and healing of all the souls of mankind. Okay, so we're back. So here we have our spiritual assignments, right? The lead. The goal is to turn that lead into gold. That is our spiritual transformation in this life. And so what that looks like, it starts on the inside, but eventually it becomes the way that we embody ourselves, and the way that we have our being. So our life starts to flesh out because we're no longer sabotaging ourselves in impulsive actions and choices and behaviors where we're being pulled to and fro by our feelings and our emotions and our fears and insecurities and worries and overexcitement, all of it, right? We've been through it. We've gone through the spiritual and emotional transformation and the consciousness transformation. So we think about things differently, which changes the way we feel about things, which then changes our energy about things, and it deepens our faith. It makes things more clear, where we have stronger discernment. And through that, when we develop those, and you might notice that I'm referencing the cups, the wands, and the swords, right? So once we get our mental landscape and our consciousness on check, we get our heart straight and healed, and we get rid of the viruses in the system there that were, making the heart hard to discern. It was like confusing the heart. Okay. And then the wands are our faith and our confidence and our willpower and our motivation, right? So we've got those mastered to a certain degree, and those are our internal world. And because of that, we're going to start to behave differently. We're going to have more mastery and control over our old nature, our old lower nature, our reflexive responses, our old self-sabotaging behavior, our old habits, our old limiting belief systems, all of it, so that we can rise above that and we can take care of things in our material world, but also not be completely caught up in the material world. It's like we have transcended the material, where we are competent in that material realm. We can be like effective members of society. We're not completely like transcendent. We still have immanence. But we're not completely controlled and caught up in the material world. Also, we know that our true identity is a soul and a spirit having this physical experience, this physical embodiment. And so when it's time to leave this world, we'll be able to detach from it, because we know that the true eternity and the true value and the true life is in the realm of the eternal, right? It's not just here on earth. People who are so obsessed with the material and their material possessions, and this is all they believe in, it's like those are the people that have a hard time leaving this realm when they die, and they end up haunting their houses and haunting the people that they love and haunting their this place or that thing, because they're so physically attached to this realm. They haven't prepared themselves for that soul intelligence that understands how to navigate life outside of the body. Right? So this is the goal every year, is that we are that we're healing our soul to the degree that it literally starts to change the way that we show up in the world. And hopefully this is making us into a greater vessel for sharing the light of the Creator with the world. We do the spiritual work not only so that we feel more fulfilled and we have more peace and we heal our pain, but also beyond that, so that we don't bring more pain and suffering into the world, so that we're not the evil overlords setting upon others, right? Terrorizing people and bringing division and discord, right? We don't want to be those people. So we do the spiritual work so that we don't accidentally get caught up into this frenzy and turn into the thing that we don't want to be. And how do we turn into the thing that we don't want to be? Because we judge, we criticize, we judge harshly, and we have the evil eye and evil tongue about our enemy. But then that is what guarantees that we will become exactly that enemy. As we've seen, the extremism in this country arise from pointing the finger at extremism in other countries. It's the very people who have been busting a vein in their forehead, pointing the finger at the enemy, who have turned exactly into the exact criteria of the enemy that they always warned us against. It's like, well, you check all those boxes now, literally all of them. So what happened there? Because judge not lest you be judged. When you judge and you criticize and you cast that eye, it's like you attach yourself to that judgment, and that eye looks back at you, and you will have a chance to walk a mile in those shoes. So when we judge others, it does nothing but maybe give our ego a brief hit of excitement, but what it actually does is it sets us up for a painful and inconvenient process down the road that's going to take us through that lesson, because we're going to have to learn it like, oh, well, you think you know better? Then let's see, kind of thing, right? So we don't want to be a vessel for darkness in the world. And we have the humility to understand that unless we try really hard to make sure that we protect ourselves from the decay and from the effects of being exposed to this spiritual pollution, essentially, the free radicals of spiritual pollution that get in and muck everything up, we have to have humility. Because the problem that we're seeing out there is that there are groups that are completely incapable of just saying, oh yeah, maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe I need to take another look at that again. Instead, they double down and go harder and look harder for someone else whose fault it is, because they can't grapple with the reality that they've made a mistake, because in their mind they believe that eternally damns them. And if that's what they really believe, then they'll do anything to have that kind of blame land on them. And they think that if they can convince themselves that their hands are clean, then they're all right, right? So we do not want to add more of that in the world. We want to be aware of ourselves, and we want to work hard and smarter not to become that. And so what do? We constantly stay in a state of humility. I'm not sharing enough. I could be better. I could do better. I could love purer. I could love more. I could have less agenda. I could be more patient with my enemy, as far as wanting to educate and share with the enemy the right way without shaming and pushing them away and alienating them further. Right? And we see that this is like a great example of this I just saw was a story about, it was set during the time of the early stages of integration of Black people in white schools, ending segregation in the South. And it was in North Carolina, I believe, and there was a woman who was a civil rights activist. She was a Black civil rights activist who was forced to work with the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, that chapter in that area. And they had to work together for 10 days to sort of be the spearheads and coordinators of trying to integrate these two clashing groups. Well, at first they both bemoaned the assignment because they had to work with their absolute enemy. But by the end of the 10 days, the man who was the leader of the Ku Klux Klan chapter in his area tore up his membership card, denounced the Ku Klux Klan, joined the civil rights movement, and has been friends with this woman that he was forced to work with, and she was forced to work with him. They've been lifelong friends forever since then. The hardest part is getting over ourselves to try to open our hearts towards people we have hardened our hearts towards. When we keep our hearts hard towards one another, healing and change can't happen, because we're still butting heads and we're still refusing to let change happen. We're refusing to create space to make it possible. Now, we cannot become overly open and porous to allow those who would ride roughshod over another, right? There are tyrants in the world. And so we have to be able to discern when we're dealing with superpowers and when we're dealing with the person who's in our community, right? It starts in our most intimate circles, right? Think about the people who get most under your skin, who are closest to you, your parents, your uncles, aunts, great aunt, uncle, whoever it is, like a coworker that doesn't get it. Like, these are the people that you could make a difference with. But these are the hardest people, because these are the people that you want to take it out on and get in the arguments with. And you know what it does? It pushes each other away. We start to listen less, and we start to build these sour feelings towards one another. So yes, some people are beyond the effect of reasoning with them, right? Some people, like the Bible talks about, the Pharaoh's heart was just hardened. It was not going to be changed, right? But not everyone is a Pharaoh. Many people do change, right? And so we have to keep hoping that change is possible. And that starts not by changing other people, not by going out and telling everybody else where they're wrong and putting everybody else on a cross, but it's about putting ourselves on that cross and looking to see, okay, where can I be different? Where can I change? How can I grow? How can I set the example and lead the way and take the first step? How can I pick up that cross and start the pilgrimage through those 12 stations? All right, and it's the judgment day here. We're going to be judged on our judgment, right? Our consciousness. What is your consciousness? What's the seed level of your consciousness? Are you judging others with condemnation and ignorance and dismissiveness? Or are you looking on in compassion, with mercy, with patience, with the desire for peace and unity in your heart? You know, the thing with unity is that it allows for disagreement, but it does not allow for hatred, right? You can fight with your brother and sister, but at the end of the day, you still love your brother and sister, right? When you grapple, when you're kids, you get hurt, somebody gets punched, your feelings are hurt, your butt hurt, you're mad at each other. You argue that day, but you don't hate one another forever, right? You don't try to ruin each other's lives over it, right? You eventually get over it and you still love the person. So Judgment Day every year, Rosh Hashanah, leading up to it, we're working all year round to rise above our easy nature, our lower nature, our reflexive nature, right? If we never tried to work on ourselves, who would we be? Most of us would have an attitude problem. I know I would. I do now, and I even try not to, right? So we make an effort, to rise above the nature, the body consciousness, and we choose the creator consciousness. We choose that eternal, unwavering, unconditional, loving consciousness. We have to work really, really hard to strive for that, right? Because this comes a lot easier. This kind of like chaotic, dark, twisted, that comes pretty easy, when we're provoked, right? So Judgment Day, we will be judged on the nature of our consciousness, right? And then finally, the judge here, da 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 da, dun 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 dun. Everyone rise, please rise for the Honorable Judge Binah, Saturn, who's coming in with Two of Pentacles here. So the energy storehouse that we will be connecting to during the high holidays is the energy of the supernal divine feminine. Nurturing, blessing, healing, abundance, love, all the blessings of the year, right? But this is coming from the column of judgment and severity. So it usually requires that we go through a process of cleansing to earn this and to become this, right? When you see like monks, toughening up and mastering different martial arts, right? One of the things they do is they punch sand, right? And they toughen their knuckles and they get them stronger by breaking them down and letting them heal, these like little micro fractures, and they build up this strength, right? That's that same discipline. It's like we discipline ourselves to build ourselves up into a sovereign being who has self-control. I can pause. I'm not going to get sucked into mob mentality. I'm not going to be brainwashed. I'm not going to be programmed. I'm not going to be stirred into reactivity. I have self-control because of the discipline that I have practiced and practiced and practiced to be able to tune in, to anchor, to tune into my Creator in prayer and quietness and make that connection. When the Bible talks about women should be quiet in their study, and it's, this propaganda against women preaching on an esoteric level, what I hear is that dark, silent feminine that can go in and hear the truth from within them. And when it says ask your husband, I think the bridegroom, the Christ, go in silence and ask your true husband, the Christ, the husband of the soul. The bridegroom will preach to you directly. How about that? Let's take that. Let's take ownership of those words back. Why don't we? Right? So Saturn, practicing restriction, not just lashing out, not just saying things, but truly slowing down and observing yourself and questioning the reflexive response before you do it, so that you can wait and make a proactive, free-willed choice. Otherwise, when we're just reflexively responding, we're not in free will at that moment. And it is work, right? The Two of Pentacles is about juggling things. And so when we have tikkun, like our tikkun is each one of us, it's like the correction that we are specifically here to do. And so for some of us, that might show up in different ways, in different vices, and different personality flaws and strengths, right? But we have multiple of them. And so it's like everything, we're getting hit in every direction right now. Every test is coming up, every temptation, every fear, all the things that we thought we'd, dealt with. It's like they're circling back right now because we are, we're being given a chance to take the test again, to get a better grade this time, to sweeten the judgment. So one of the things about the Two of Pentacles is that it says, hey, you might have a lot of tasks to juggle. You might have a lot of work. You might have things pulling you in different directions, and you might be feeling like you're getting off balance. And so the way to maintain that balance is to bring a sense of lightness and levity to the work that you're doing. Try to look at the bright side of it and try to appreciate it, or try to have fun with what you're doing. We'll say, like, in this regard, I would say don't bemoan the tests that are coming up, because they're opportunities to purify and purge the negative energy that is stacked up against you in the prosecutor's case for the year, right? So we're getting rid of the evidence by going through the process, by changing, by transforming. Those charges are getting dropped in the high holy court, so to speak. So when, like, say for instance, if you got sick at the last minute this week, that is one form of purification. It's like you have to go through this discomfort, right? It burns off the negativity if you can embrace it. Somebody's trying to attack you and defame you and ruin your reputation. Let them. That is taking so much negativity off of your side of the scale. They're just sucking it right onto them, right? When someone is evil tonguing you, they're taking your stuff that you were going to have to work through, and they're taking it on for themselves. So it's like sort of like spiritual static cling. So it's almost a good thing if you can actually see it that way and embrace it. It actually strengthens your cause, and it actually starts to take more of your negativity away. It's like breaking up the stains. It's like that oxygenated tide for your soul. So yeah, embrace the process this week. If you go through a challenge or a fear or something that tests you or that makes you emotional, don't bemoan that. Don't think, oh, why is this happening to me? Actually be like, oh my gosh, wait a second. This is actually good. It's helping me work off my community service for the Creator before I go to court, right? Before I go to the high courts of Rosh Hashanah and have my year, the decree of my year declared, right? The judgment that is cast is, okay, this is the kind of year you're going to have next year. And the numerical value of next year is already an extreme year of judgment. So the gap between cause and effect is going to decrease. And so the effects of your actions are going to be evident and apparent. So we have to be very on our guard this coming year about realizing that the consequences for the things that we do might be showing up faster than they ever have, because it is a year that is that the numerical value of the year is the same as the numerical value of judgment. All right, you all, that is all for tonight. I hope this serves you well. Pray for the world. Help those you can directly who are facing horrors and who are in grave and deep need. You have a few days left to do extra charity for tshuva. Try to avoid negative conversations, idle talk. Right? It's the devil's playground. So do what you can to restrict any extra negative behavior that could be sowing the wrong seeds. All right, you guys, be well. Peace be with you. And our prayers are with the whole world right now. All right. Ciao.